quite a few years ago, I was on a mission to make all of the Eagle Force diecast figures from the early 80s into 3 3/4 inch figures. And I had a bunch of G.I. Joe figures and old parts and stuff that I thought if I mixed and matched and made some things, I could make all of these figures. And for the most part, I did. I've got these Eagle Force figures here. Captain Eagle, KO, the martial arts specialist, Wild Bill, the cowboy commando, Goldie Hawk, the blonde bombardier, Sergeant Brown, the demolitions expert, Harley, the ace mechanic, sporting that big bazooka, Red Wing, the survival expert, Big Bro, the combat medic, and the escape artist, the cat. I also made some figures from the Riot enemy side. We have Nemesis, the saboteur, Beta Man, the arsonist, Savitar, the assassin, Shock Trooper, the soldier of tyranny, and General Mamba. Now that's 14 figures altogether, but there's actually 18 figures in the line, and we have to make 4 more. I'm going to make another Eagle Force figure here, Stryker. We've got Turk. We have Zapper. And one more Riot figure, Baron Von Chill. Now if you want to see how I made these, make sure you look in my library of videos. If you look underneath Eagle Force, all of the custom work is done in those videos. I think there's 4 so far, 4 or 5. And this is going to be the last Eagle Force figure or O-ring custom video that I'm doing. But there will be more custom Eagle Force stuff in the future, so stay tuned for that. So here's the figures and here's all the parts I've come up with. I had a really hard time finding parts for these last couple figures here, except for Stryker here. He has a Falcon figure, and I think most of this figure is going to work perfect. Of course, I'm going to have to find another crotch or make a crotch for this guy, and he needs a mustache. We also have Herc here. I've got a big boa chest and some arms, and I have this head that I think I can put a mustache on him, and I have a helmet or a beret that I pre-molded a while ago, so we're going to use that, and I think that'll work. These are all extra parts that I have in case I want to change some things up. Here's Zapper here with his gun. We have some bare arms. I have a mutt head, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use that. I found this head is a more modern G.I. Joe figure. That might work better because I have a beret here that I got from a modern figure and was going to use it on the more vintage heads, but it didn't fit because it's much smaller. So for Zapper, maybe this will fit on that guy's head. And also I wanted to use some vintage straight arm style legs and chest for this guy, maybe even the crotch, just because I wanted to have an old school look to one of these guys, and I wanted to use this guy. I don't want to have straight arms, but definitely want to have an old school style body. Last we have this guy here, and I'm going to be pretty much using this Worms figure. I think pretty much everything will work perfect on that. I do have this, I think this is Rock Viper. We can use some of his parts maybe, and we have all of these parts too. I also have another beret here that was a mold and didn't quite turn out that well, but I may be able to cut it and shape it with some sandpaper, and maybe we can use that for one of these guys if the beret that I have for probably this guy doesn't work. So we've got all the parts I think we need. So first of all, I'm going to get all of these guys taken apart, all their parts. I'm going to make some decisions about what parts I really want to use, make sure they all fit together, and then we'll take all the parts that need to be painted gold and we'll go paint them. So things have changed quite a bit. I changed the chest here. I used a road pig instead. He's got a bigger chest, and I think that's going to work better. I still have to figure out how to put the bullets on his chest. I'm still going to cut his head off too and put his beret on. I gave Falcon here a new crotch. We pretty much have everything here, but for the arms, I decided to use quick kick arms. I have tons of quick kicks with broken crotches, and I don't like painting skin colors if I can get away with it because it just doesn't look great, and it's nice to have the actual plastic color that you're going to use for the faces or the arms. And I'm also going to lower the neck on this guy because he's got a really tall neck, so we've got to lower that a little bit before we continue. Next on the right side I have Baron von Chill here. For the most part I'm going to be using some of those worm body parts that I had earlier, but I've changed some things up. First of all, I changed the arms. I really wanted to have gloves that go up towards his elbows like the original Mego figure here, and I did use Road Pig's upper thighs because there's some arrows on his thigh, and the Mego diecast figure has arrows on his back because he does have a bow and arrow, so I thought it'd be a nice nod to the original Mego figure. So I used Shockwave's boots, and I think I've used all of Shockwave's body parts for earlier figures that I was doing. Now I have to paint all the pants, crotches, chests for the first three guys, and then for this guy here, I'm going to get out some enamel paints and we'll paint him kind of that maroonish greenish color. Also for the gold, I've been using this metallic. This is Rust-Oleum metallic paint. It's metallic gold. It's been working really well. It doesn't have a super chromy shine to it, but it does, when you spray it on, look like the die-cast gold that you see on the original figures, so it works out really good. While that's drying, I mixed up some enamel paint here. I've got Tamiya enamel paint, and I think I've got the color that I want here. It looks pretty good if we try to match that and put that on there. It looks really good. It matches the paint that's on the original figure. I used Tamiya X7, which is red, and X5, which is green. And the green is really close to the green that's on the accents of his straps and stuff like that. So I might just use that green. I might just whiten it a little bit and lighten it a bit. But I'm going to use this red for sure. And we'll paint all of the parts. So this is dry now, but this does need a second coat. What I wanted to do is for the second coat is I wanted to add a little bit of white to my paint because this is more of a pinkish color as opposed to this brownish red color. I think adding a little white to that will give me the color I'm looking for. And always remember, when you're trying to color match, try to color match a shade lighter. We're just going to add some X2 to the two paints that I was already using. So the gold is dry, it's right up here, but we still have to wait for the second coat of that maroonish pinkish color to dry. Let's do some cutting. Now I already cut the groove in this guy's neck just down farther so it will fit, his head will fit into the chest a little bit lower so he doesn't look like he's got a really long neck. That's getting closer. I like how it's kind of lopsided because a lot of these guys have their hats on lopsided a bit, so I may leave it kind of lopsided like that. But I do think that his head has to come down a little bit more. That's getting better. I'm going to take some of the bottom off of this, and I think it'll make a big difference. But I'm almost there with him. And then if we look at Turk, starting to become Turk, this is starting to look really good too. I'm going to bring this down still a little tiny bit. I'm going to sand these with a flat base a little bit, and that'll bring both foreheads down a little bit. I think it will look perfect. Nope, I do not like the looks of that. Let's try something else. I'm sure I have something in a bin somewhere. So I have to come up with a new plan for this guy's helmet slash whatever this is. Some kind of, it's like a knight's helmet or something like that is what it looks like. And the original plan didn't quite work out with the other helmet. Didn't look that great. So what I'm planning on doing is taking this metalhead helmet here, and I'm going to take some cloth that I have. This is just an old t-shirt material. This is the best material to use. I find when you cut this, t-shirt material doesn't fray. And I really like the texture of this t-shirt material. So I think it'll look really good. Let's try that again. I took this off. Like I said, the tape worked really good, so I took this off. And I'm going to try a different method. As you can see, the crazy glue is really hard, and I didn't like how it changed the color. So I'm going to try something else. I'm going to use double-sided tape to attach it to the helmet. And then to attach the part that goes underneath his chin, I have two options. I can sew it, which I think will be a good way to do it, or I'm going to use hot glue. So we'll try that and see what happens. So before I start painting the details, especially on the heads, this guy needs a mustache. So does Stryker here. How I didn't want to paint on the face and hands and stuff, so I ended up taping everything up. But let's just see what the gold looks like. Now this gold can be very delicate. If you touch it too much, it will start to flake off. So I'm trying not to touch it as much as possible, but I need to make some mustaches out of Hermilliput here. So I'm just going to roll some pieces up and then apply them to their face. This guy also needs a pair of sunglasses, so we'll make those too. All right, we got some nice early 80s bushy mustaches here. I'm just going to paint them. And I got to paint some of the gold around the beret here too, because with the tape around it, I didn't want the gold to get on the hair, so I just have to brush that gold around the rim of the beret. And we'll paint these mustaches the correct color. For the rest of the painting, I'm going to be using these Vallejo acrylic paints. And now Stryker's beret has been painted gold on the bottom. We got rid of some of that green. All right, so we're going to do brown, brown, and then keep him black. So now that the heads are all done and painted, I want to get started on this guy is make him some sunglasses, and they are painted in gold. So I'm going to make the glasses first. I'm going to paint them gold and then attach it to his head. To make the sunglasses, I'm going to be using this really thin styrene. I think it's like 1/4 of a millimeter or 1/2 millimeter thick. It's not that thick. You can really bend it well. So I'm going to use this for the sunglasses. It's a really small piece here. I'm just going to make it long. I'm not going to figure out how big it needs to be to fit his head, but that should be good enough right there. Might need to sand it down. We can make it a little thinner. And then for the lenses, I'm going to make a strip a little bit bigger. And we'll size it to the face to make sure that it's right. Cool. Okay, now it's time to paint. I've got all of the parts here and they're ready to go, and they're ready to be painted. I got all the gold here. Now I did actually cover up the grunt figure's belts and brown accessories on his chest, because this gold comes off with alcohol, so you can just rub it off if you want to, and I could always bring the grunt parts back to normal, and it's got the original paint underneath, so I could just take the gold off and the original paint is still there. And I think it'd be cool to show the original paint on this figure. So let's paint the details on all of these parts. We've got the heads all done, and let's just paint the details and then we can put everything together. And I also have to find some weapons. I got a couple here and there that I found while I was doing this video, so we'll get the accessories together and I'll show you what I found. I do like how these turned out, and this is going to be challenging to make because these don't bend very easily. I'm going to use a hot gun here and see if I can get these to bend better, and then we'll put it all together. I'm going to have to make the straps, glue it to the belt open like this, and put the straps on, and then we'll glue the belt together, and we'll be using some crazy glue or super glue and this accelerator to hopefully make it glue together quickly. This is my third time doing this, so let's hope that this works out better than the first two times. That belt was much harder to make than I had expected. And I've got all of the accessories here. He's got his belts, his gun. And I found this gun for Stryker. Looks really good. And I found this gun for Zapper. I love Zapper, how he's got that vintage looking body style with the original paint. I love that. Looks really cool. And we have Baron Von Chill. Now, I did change this helmet again for like the third time. I actually cut the helmet that I had for him from Metalhead, and then I put the fabric underneath the helmet. I think this looks way better like that. Let's get these on the turntable with their die-cast figures, and then we'll take a look at all 18 figures all together. So here's our 4 figures. I'm really happy I finished this custom series. It was like 3 years in the making. And I think my favorite figure in here is actually Turk. I just really like how his bullet belts look on him. And I do like Zapper's sunglasses. They look really good. This is not my last Eagle Force custom that I'm planning on doing. Even though all the figures are done, I do plan on doing a custom Jeep. I want to do the Eagle Force Jeep. I had that as a kid, and I think it would look really good as a 3 3/4 scaled Jeep. So I'm going to do that, and I got a couple Vamp Jeeps that I'm ready to customize to do that, and we'll get into that soon. And there we have it. There's our 18 Eagle Force and Riot figures. They look amazing. Thanks for watching. If you haven't watched my first 5 videos, I'd encourage you to go check them out so you can see how I made the rest of these. And sorry I haven't had any videos out lately. I've been really busy this summer. Usually my summer is pretty busy with vacations and work, but I am getting back to making videos. Just picked up this Zartan figure too. He's going to look good in the right side. This is the O-Ring Zartan Cold Slither figure. He just came out and he is, I don't know, he's okay. If you look in the picture, he's got really cool rock and roll hair. But with that hair, he looks like Raggedy Ann or something like that. I'm not really a huge fan of that hair. If I can find some better hair, I may take that hair off and put something on that's more rock and roll. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next episode.